What's up, guys? It has been a while. So we've been renovating the office, as you can see. Got a little soundproofing in here, so hopefully it sounds better for you guys. And I'm gonna try to keep these weekly moving forward. So if you like this type of content, like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. So let's get into this. First thing I want to start with is this interesting article that's been circulating from the Hub here. Canada's housing shortage is a long-term problem that's only getting worse. This is something I've been talking about for months, for years. On my YouTube channel, obviously, I have better videos where I break down the exact numbers of how many people were immigrating, what our net population gain is versus housing completion, and it's no secret that it hasn't been keeping up for a long time. This article breaks it down a little bit more. I'll kind of link it in the description, but just so you can see the graph here. We have the lowest housing units per capita of any G7 country. You can see we're there with 424. France is up there with 540, and everyone else falls in between. And again, this is just something I've been talking about for a long time. But let's get more specific. Let's get down to the Toronto market. You've probably seen a lot of market updates from other realtors about the April numbers. Now, the April year-over-year numbers are naturally going to look insane because if you remember April of last year, that's when COVID started. That's when our lockdowns really took hold. So naturally, the year-over-year numbers are going to look crazy. You can kind of see that. So sales year-over-year up 362%, new listings 237%, average price up 33% across the board. If you look at 416 condos specifically, average price up 18.7%. And for detached 36.8, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more. Obviously, I often talk about the price gap between condos and detached and why it's so relevant and important, and that's still the situation today. So let's get into months of inventory for condos and freeholds in 416. Credit to this goes to Scott Ingram on Twitter. He does great weekly MOI charts. If you haven't heard me talk about this before, months of inventory below 3 is a seller's market where you're going to see price appreciation. Months of inventory above 6 or above 5 is a buyer's market. And obviously, towards November of last year, September, November, was sort of the bottom of the market for condos. Obviously, freehold have done well the entire time as people are working from home more. They're looking for more space. So freehold have been in this sort of crazy seller's market. So what's interesting about the condo months of inventory trend to me is it kind of follows the trend of COVID, right? So lockdowns loosen, you see months of inventory precipitously fall because, of course, the benefit of being in the suburbs, the net benefit decreases when all of the restaurants and shops and people are starting to come back to work, etc. So that's bullish for condos when we're not on lockdown. And of course, when we lock down again, that's a little bit bearish for condos because what's the point of being downtown if none of the amenities are available to you and you don't have to go into the office? So to me, it makes sense. We're seeing a slight edge up in months of inventory. To be honest, I was expecting more. I was expecting a little bit more of a buying opportunity with the second lockdown or third lockdown or whatever lockdown we're on. Still a ton of buyer activity, specifically the luxury market, and I'll get into that shortly, but the entry luxury condo market, that $1 to $3 million range, is doing incredibly well right now. And the same goes for the entry luxury pre-construction market. So the pre-construction condo market is doing incredibly well. There were a couple of noteworthy launches in the past few months. Mimico Grand Central sold out 3 towers like literally overnight with thousands of worksheets, and they're not the only ones. So pre-construction is doing incredibly well, which means investor sentiment is doing well, and the luxury end of the condo market is doing really well. And so across the board, condos are doing quite well, all things considered. This is the showing stats from Broker Bay. So if you're not familiar with Broker Bay, it's just an online appointment booking platform that we realtors use internally. Most brokerage, I'd say big chunk of brokerages use the platform, so it gives you a pretty good look at the broader market. What I like about it is it does this weekly stat on showings and offers, so you can kind of see even before months of inventory data is available, you can see where the market is heading, and you can kind of see, like here's the you can see the condo market recovering from the lockdown, and then of course you've got the holidays, showing drop, and then you see a peak here And then, of course, we enter the next lockdown and a little bit of a taper. But that's still a lot of showing activity considering technically we're supposed to be locked down. Ignore this last week here. The data is obviously incomplete. All right, and like I said, the price difference between detached and condo is something I talk about a lot. It's important to watch because when detached runs and detached appreciates, but condos don't, there's an opportunity to be buying condos because naturally at some point that gap is going to correct. So the last time we had a $1 million price difference between your average detached in the 416, which is currently, let me just scoot back a bit. Your average detached is 1.7 million. Your average condo is 700,000, 727,000. So your dollar figure gap, your difference in affordability between the two is about $1 million. The last time that happened was 2017, 2016. Of course, everyone knows what happened there. Detached corrected. Condos appreciated anywhere from 15 to 30% that year, depending on the neighborhood and the pocket and the building. So right now, condos, to me, what I see is I see a pretty good opportunity. Obviously, when lockdowns lift and people start going back to work and all the rest of it, naturally, condos are a little bit undervalued right now. So this, credit to this goes to Alex on Twitter. This is just the rental market. Obviously, the condo rental market got absolutely butchered. Last year, Airbnb listings all flooded the long-term rental market. Foreign students didn't come into the country, which eats up a big chunk of rental inventory, depending on where you are downtown. It's recovering, so it's starting to stabilize. You can see the massive fall in active lease listings there. It's still, I would say, a buyer's market for leases, or leasers market, but it's starting to consolidate and get a lot healthier now. All right, so let's get into some specific examples. I want to show a couple of things. Number one, people are paying massive premiums for outdoor space right now. So terraces are getting a higher premium than they've ever gotten before, which of course naturally makes sense. Can't go to restaurants, can't go to patios. It'd be nice to have one. So they're doing incredibly well. Here's a prime example. All of these sold within the last 2 or 3 weeks, okay? This one here, 901 Queen, nice little loft building, okay, 615 square feet internally with a 478 square foot terrace. This is a ground floor unit. Sold, it was asking 680 and it sold for 901,000 with 1 day on market. The last sale for this particular unit was 565,000 in August of 2018. So it's up 336 grand in 3 years or so, give or take. Putting it at 16.8% appreciation year over year. I'll kind of show you the photos so you guys can see. So this is the unit here. Nice little ground floor walkout unit with a large outdoor terrace. Obviously could use some updating. The only thing changed from 2018 till now is some of the, I believe, just the paint is really the only thing, and it's staged a lot better. Okay. So obviously a huge gain on that unit there. Moving on, here's a more typical unit at Aura, 680 square feet, 1 parking, sold for 912,000, was asking 700,000. Last time it sold was March 2016 for 626,000. So it's up 285,000 in 5 years, or 8% year over year growth, which is a very healthy growth rate, but obviously not what you're seeing on some of these outdoor terrace and larger units that are selling incredibly well right now. Here's another terrace unit. So 775 King, 902. This one sold for 1.3 million. It was asking 1 million. It's 1,022 square feet internally with a 300 square foot terrace. I'll show you this here. Sold 1 day on market. There's the Aura unit. Here's 775 King. Great unit, do the CN. Okay, just to give you a quick idea. Moving on, we have 20 Gladstone. Okay, so this one is 1180 square feet internal. Okay, they were asking 1,080,000. They sold for 1.35 million. 1180 square feet, 600 square foot terrace. Last time this unit sold was in January of 2016 for $680,000. So you're looking at about a price doubling over the last 5 or 6 years, so 12% per year. That's the growth rate on this unit. Again, terrace units doing incredibly well right now. Large units, entry luxury units, doing really, really well right now. And anecdotally, from a pre-construction perspective here, lots and lots of downsizers reaching out to me recently to buy larger pre-construction inventory. One Bedford, okay, is 1521 square foot unit, was asking 2.95 million, sold for 3.3. Unusual to see bidding wars in the $2, $3, $4 million condo price point. Obviously, there's not an abundance of buyers in that pocket of the market, but you're seeing it right now. Moving on, we've got 110 Bloor, 1950 square feet, sold for 3.55 million, just 50 under ask in 8 days at 21.51 per square foot. You've got a unit here at Four Seasons, so this is 1956 square feet, sold for 4.28 million, and the last time it sold was in 2015 for 2.5 million. And it was only listed 21 days, which is a pretty quick sales cycle for $4 million units. But Four Seasons is obviously a popular building for a number of reasons. This one, there's no real comment to the market on this one. I just wanted to include this one to show you guys this unit. Probably my favorite unit and my favorite building in the city. So 1 Roxborough, Hillendale Residences at Roxborough and Yonge. This is a 4,000 square foot penthouse unit, sold for $2,900 a foot, so sold for 11.6 million. Just quickly show you the unit here because it is a killer unit. Let's get down to her. There it is. Super boutique building if you're not familiar, right by the Roxborough station. Just an absolute masterpiece of a unit. And of course, it is complete with a pool. Beautiful unit. Anyways, that is it, guys. I hope this gives you a little bit more clarity on what's happening in the market. And if you like this type of content, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.